Welcome to this class on the topic of business research. Business research is used to improve the chance of gaining competitive advantage and greater market share. So business research is targeted at specific objectives. The objective of getting greater competitive advantage and increasing market share. In other words, in finding out about what the market requires and what the competitors are doing, and using the information to beat the competitors and to increase the presence of the business in the marketplace. Business research seeks out facts with the help of study, observation, comparison, and experiment. Generally speaking, business research is based on observation and sometimes on study, questionnaires, and a particular methodology based around people and business practice. It's unusual to have experiment in business research. Experiments are normally conducted by the natural sciences. Perhaps the research and development section of the business may engage in experimentation. But for decision making and strategy development, business research is normally based around questionnaires and observations. It uses the search for knowledge through objective and systematic method of finding solution to a problem. The idea of business research is to be precise and objective. It's pointless in conducting research if the researcher is going to insert his or her own opinions into the research, or bias the results or the way information was collected. So it must be objective and it must be systematic. It must follow a set of rules as laid out at the start before the research takes place. This overlaps with our idea of methodology. First of all, it tries to answer questions through the application of scientific procedures. Now, by scientific procedures here, I don't mean procedures in the natural sciences. I mean logical procedures, scientific or logical. It asks questions of a carefully selected, perhaps, group of people, but the people are selected randomly, if possible. It's not always the case that people can be selected randomly, but if possible, the respondents are collected randomly. Now this means that the interviewer or the data collector is not in a position to select the participants. If the data collector, if the person asking the questions or conducting the survey is able to select the people, it's biased. It reflects his or her opinions or attitudes or predispositions. So scientific means it is objective. It is outside of the control of the person conducting the interviews, the questionnaires, or making the observations. It's scientific. It is objective. It follows a set of rules, and these rules are not determined by the person collecting the information, and therefore is not subject to their bias. It tries to determine the truth which has not been discovered. The whole idea is to try and find out the facts, not what the person conducting the interviews or the questionnaires or whatever, not what these people believe, but what are the actual facts. And the actual facts, the truth of the situation may be unpalatable to the organization and to the researcher. But those are the facts. And it's better to know what the facts are than to invent what people would like to see, because that is biased, it's misleading, and it is dangerous in the context of business because it can lead to bad decision making. In fact, it can lead to disastrous decision making. It attempts to gain familiarity with the phenomenon under study. The methodology tries to become familiar with the phenomenon. It's important to understand what is being researched. If the researcher is asking people's opinions about a certain product, then the person must understand the product. The researcher must understand the product, as also the respondent. So there must be a thorough understanding on both sides. Otherwise the information collected will not be accurate. It'll be perhaps an invention on the part of one of the respondents or of some of the respondents. Or perhaps the researcher will bias the respondents by giving them erroneous information about the product or about the service or whatever's under investigation. The whole idea is that the report must focus in on the facts, and it must report the facts honestly and openly, even though the facts may be upsetting to the organisation. It may tell the organisation that the product it's proposing to sell is not good, or it's got many flaws, or it hasn't been well thought through. It sounds insulting, but it's better to know at the early stage in this business research than to follow through perhaps with a hefty investment which will fail, which will lead to losses down the line. Now let's look at the components of research. Well, there must be, first of all, a clear definition of the problem. The problem understood under investigation must be clearly understood, so the problem must be clear. It must be set out clearly. The research enables us to understand the new developments in business, society, and in science. Research into business will tell us what the customer thinks of products, or what the customer wants, or gaps in the market. But research could also be conducted into society, into some social piece of research, which would also be an indicator of the way society is moving in terms of its attitudes, perhaps towards advertising, or towards fashion, or towards business, or whatever. So there may be societal research, or it could be scientific, of course, research into something which is a scientific issue, perhaps the development of a new product which requires a new process. So there could be research into that area. Research is the systematic search for relevant information on a specific topic. That's what research is. It's systematic. It follows a set of rules, and the rules are set out before the research is undertaken. It is the careful investigation of a topic through search for new facts. It's looking for insights. It's looking for information that will help the business make better decisions, develop better products, and better satisfy customer needs, and in so doing sustain itself, generate more profits, and have a better long-term prospect. Research is a movement from the known to the unknown. It's what we know at the moment are the facts and figures that we know, that we are aware of, and the business is aware of. What is unknown is what we wish to know. I know this sounds a bit complex, but we are looking at, we're trying to determine what, let's say, customers' aspirations are. These are unknown. And what we want to do is investigate the unknown. And once we've investigated and analysed the information, it's no longer unknown. We have moved it from the category of being unknown to the category of being known. So research is looking for information, it's looking for insights, and it takes the information from the research and adds it to what we already know, which enables businesses to make better decisions. Scientific research and academic research tends to be an original contribution to the existing stock of knowledge. That's what academic research is, the research at universities and colleges, when people do research papers or perhaps take on a research degree. It's adding to the existing stock of knowledge. But in business, it's similar to that. In business, the business is rolling along, let's say, making a profit, but what it really wants to do is to expand. And to do that, it needs to know what the market is looking for. That's unknown. So the research is adding to the existing stock of knowledge. It's investigating the unknown. It's investigating what customers desire, what they want, and seeing if their aspirations are feasible, if they can be done within the context of the business, if the business is able to expand to meet those aspirations. So it has a stock of knowledge, if you like. The business has a stock of knowledge, and the research is adding to that stock of knowledge. So this is our introduction to business research, and this is why business research is important. Now, let's look briefly at the research problem. Well, the research problem could be the lack of a good methodology. Methodology is the way in which the research is conducted. Methodology is the study of method. So it's the way in which the research is conducted. Now, if the methodology is not good, then the research will not be good. And there are rules to follow in research methodology. Respondents, especially businesses, may fear that researchers may misuse the information. Confidence in the researcher is a real issue for respondents for research information. Now, sometimes people are reluctant to help in research activities. Sometimes people are reluctant to give opinions that are going to be recorded because they're afraid of what the research will lead to, or the purpose, the true purpose of the research. So part of the methodology of the way of collecting the information, and the way of collecting the information, by the way, could be interviews, or it could be questionnaires, or it could be collecting data through observation, a variety of methods. But the respondents, the people who are being studied or questioned, they may be reticent or reluctant to participate because they're afraid of what happens to the information. And some mechanism has to be found to allay those fears. Some mechanism, some way has to be found to satisfy the people so that they will participate. Many or long and complicated or duplicated research activities may lead to frustration amongst the respondents. Too much research will alienate respondents. If people are being stopped on the street all the time, they get fed up. They don't want to participate. Or if questionnaires are arriving through the post every day, people don't have time to fill these out. And if they're coming from the same source, it can lead to frustration with the source of the request. So if a company is sending out information requests all the time, that company may develop a bad reputation by the respondents. So too much research can turn people off. There is no universal code of conduct, I should say, for researchers. Researchers may adopt different approaches, and this may cause frustration amongst the respondents, and also difficulties with the data. So, if a piece of research involves, let's say, many field workers, many people collecting the data, and each one has a different technique, then respondents may get worried that the information is being collected in different ways. Why is it being collected in different ways, and why were they questioned in one way and their friend was questioned a different way? And also, if it is collected in different ways by different field workers, the data may not be conformable. Perhaps the data can't be used, it can't be collated or analysed effectively. So it's important for the research to have a coherence, to be logical, and to be widely understood by the respondents as being coherent, as being everyone singing from the same hymn sheet, as the expression goes. Support services such as libraries may be slow and cause delays in the overall research effort. That's a potential problem. Libraries are there to perhaps serve the public, not to serve the few who want information, specialized information. There are specialist libraries, of course, but those are expensive. Information from libraries offer an excellent service, generally speaking, in supplying information, but the libraries are under pressure. Many people want information, so it may be slow to get the information requested for the research. It's understandable. It just means it's a problem. The objective of business research? Well, to determine the relationship between events, to see if we can understand the relationship between, let's say, a cut in price and customer response to that cut in price. If we can understand the relationship, that could be a possible objective of the research, to try and determine the relationship between events. It could be to test a hypothesis of a causal relationship between variables. Now that sounds rather grandiose, but a hypothesis is simply a testable question, a question which can be tested. Is it raining outside? Is a question that can be tested. It's look out the window, it's yes or no. My hypothesis is that it will rain at 1 o'clock today. And we can test that. We can wait for 1 o'clock and look out the window and see if it's raining. It's a testable hypothesis. But it's my contention that it will rain at 1 o'clock. There should be a causal relationship between the variables. The variables must be linked. One must cause the other. So if a company reduces its price, will more of its product be sold? Is there a causal link? Is there a link causing extra demand because the price has been reduced? Is one causing the other? Is the reduction in price causing the extra demand for the product? So that hypothesis could be tested. And that could be an objective of the business research, to see to what extent those two are related. Business research is always interested in market trends, to see what the market wants, what is successful, what's working at the moment, what is not working at the moment, trying to understand the way the market is moving and the big influences in the market. And to determine the optimal conditions in some aspect of the business. So that's a pretty vague term, but so a business may have a marketing department, and the marketing department may be putting effort into assessing customer needs. Well, is it assessing customer needs in one area? Should it be looking at the wider geographic area, or should it be looking at a particular income group? So it's necessary to be optimal, to focus in on what is actually required, not just conduct the research, but to target specifically what is required, so that an optimal solution, the best solution, can be determined. So if the marketing department are looking at customer needs, then it should be focused in on who the customers are, what age group are they, where do they live, what income levels, what are the characteristics of the group, because research into the specific group will yield more information. Now, in this class we've looked at quite a few ideas related to business research, and this constitutes our introduction to business research. But I'm going to leave it at that for the moment and say thank you for watching.